Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored Never Boring. Always bubbling away in the background is my Advanced Heroquest project. This is a long-term project that involves collecting miniatures, painting, restoring, printing off additional material and aids, and occasionally even playing. The next big step in the process will be to paint all the basic Skaven and henchmen from the core box, and that should be happening on the channel relatively soon. But in the meantime, I thought I would show you a few things I've been working on. First up, we have some things that I've been doing to make playing the game a little smoother. I've shown this before, but I've printed out all of the monster stat cards, cut them up, and put them in some sleeves that I picked up cheap. A lot of the Advanced Heroquest expansion material was printed in White Dwarf, and they would chuck the stat cards into the middle of the articles, which was a bit inconvenient during games. By printing them all out and sleeving them like this, I have easy access to whatever enemies I need. In a similar vein, I have also printed out all of the official spellbooks that Games Workshop published. There are lots of additional unofficial spellbooks for the other colleges of magic, but for now I'm sticking to these. I have laminated them so I can actually tick off spells as I learn them. The Bright Wizard spellbook is the one that comes in the core game, but I think my personal favourite is the Light spellbook. It has an awesome Dagger of Banishment spell that can instantly kill an undead or demonic enemy, the Banish Fear spell, fear can be a real problem in Advanced Heroquest, and several different types of healing spells. In a game this deadly, that's never a bad thing. I've also done laminated 4-up prints of the 8 pre-generated characters from the core game, as I will be using some of these in my next Advanced Heroquest playthrough on the channel. Additionally, I printed off and laminated character sheets for all of the different henchmen that you can hire along the way. Next up, it was time to get a bit crafty. I happen to have in my collection a copy of Mighty Warriors. The best thing about this game is that it reuses all the miniatures from Advanced Heroquest and also includes floor tiles that recycle artwork from the Dungeon Lair and Dungeon Room sets that Games Workshop had previously published for role-playing games. The maps were recolorized, renamed, and those that didn't have flagstones had a grid added for tracking square-based movement. These tiles have a beautiful nostalgic aesthetic that I really like, and they are perfect period-accurate tiles for using with Advanced Heroquest for special quest rooms. In fact, versions of these two tiles appeared in the incredibly expensive Advanced Heroquest expansion, Terror in the Dark. As you can see, the tiles in Mighty Warriors are printed on what amounts to serial packet card, so I'm going to do something about that. I want to make them more robust and of a similar thickness to all of the boards for Advanced Heroquest. To do that, I have some 220 GSM white A3 card, and then I have some sheets of this recycled grey board, which is 1mm thick. And what I'm going to do is apply PVA glue to a sheet of the A3 card, and then brush it out nice and smoothly. I want to make sure there are no lumps, and I also don't want to apply too much glue. I just want to get a good covering. It's worth noting I've gone for 220 GSM card here because it's a decent weight. GSM doesn't really relate to the thickness of the card, so I haven't picked it specifically to make sure my homebrew tiles are the exact thickness of the Advanced Heroquest tiles. However, it just so happens that when I'm done, the thickness and appearance will be a decent match. I am then going to take 2 sheets of the recycled grey board and lay them over the white card. They will then need pressing. I have my daughter's Marvel superhero books for this. Those need to be left for quite a while to make sure the glue is completely dry. Once it is, then I can paint some more PVA on the top of the grey board. I should point out, this would probably be much easier if you have a can of spray mount, but PVA is what I've got, so this is what I'm using. Then I can grab some of the Mighty Warrior tiles and lay them on top of the grey board. And it's back to the books for another press. I am going to put a layer of greaseproof paper, or you may know it as parchment paper, over the tiles before the books though. This will ensure that if any glue splurges out of the sides, you won't stick your books to the tiles and ruin the artwork. Once the glue is dry, I can cut the tiles out. You could use a regular craft knife for this, but the card is quite thick and dense, and you want neat lines, so it's better to use a knife that doesn't have any flecks in the blade. And there we have it. If you want to, you can seal the edge with PVA glue. Also, you can run a permanent black marker pen around the edges to give them a neater finish. I'm not doing that though, as it would make these tiles look too different from the ones from the Advanced Heroquest game. And here are some of the tiles in use. They are now the same thickness as the Advanced Heroquest tiles. They are more robust and less likely to bend on the corners, and they have extra weight so they won't float around so much on the tabletop. As I mentioned, 2 of these tiles are used in the adventures from the Terror in the Dark expansion. Long-term viewers will know that I love using original components, and one day I would love to own a real copy of Terror in the Dark, just to say I have an original piece of the history of one of my favourite games of all time. However, Terror in the Dark only contains paper and card components. It's a rules book I already have a PDF of, more of the corridor tiles from the core game, and I have 2 core sets worth of those already. More tokens like pits, chasms and thrones, which again I have multiples of already from owning more than 1 core set. Some tokens and player aids that are unique to the expansion, and then 5 special quest rooms, of which I now have 2. I have sourced the art for the other 3 rooms and all of the unique tokens I need, and I will be using the same process I have just used here to make my own versions of those components. That will do me until I win the lottery and can afford to throw some cash at a real copy of the expansion. The last thing today on this laundry list of bits and pieces of things that need doing is a bit of painting. I am going to touch up the paintwork on this lovely goblin Hugbug. This miniature was kindly donated to me by viewer John Stanwicks, and he has already done a lovely clean paint job on it. This is a very old school style of painting with really pronounced shading created by simply not painting the whole surface area of each part of the miniature. For the most part I'm going to leave this miniature as it is, but I do need to clean off some grit from the metal tab. I'm just going to scrape that with a craft knife. There's a bit on his shoes as well. Then we are going to glue Hugbug into a 25mm round base using super glue. This isn't an original old school Citadel base, but if you don't tell anyone, I won't either. Now as you can see, Hugbug's tab is shorter than the slot in the base, so we need to fill that. There are lots of ways to do this. Sometimes I cut bits of old spruce to fill the gap. This time though I'm using green stuff. I'm just going to cut a small amount, knead it until it goes green, and then squash some into the slot from underneath on either side of the foot. I'm pushing just enough of the green stuff through so it sits proud on the top of the base. Then I'm going to get a metal modelling tool and I'm going to slide it over the top of the green stuff to slice off the excess and push the remainder flat to the top of the base. That way you get a nice clean fill. It's a bit trickier doing the bit between the feet. I'm just going to roll a small sausage of green stuff and then press it into the recess as best I can with the modelling tool. Once that's set, we can start painting. His steel toe caps are a little scruffy from where we picked the gravel off his feet, so I'm going to reapply a coat of lead belcher. We only need 1 coat. Then I'm switching to non-oil and I'm going to wash the boots to keep that dirty metal finish. Then we want to repaint the skin to brighten it up. I'm going to start with a base of Orruk Flesh. 2 thin coats of this, being careful not to get it on any of the surrounding paint. I don't want to have to repaint the whole miniature. When that's dry, I'm switching to Agrax Earthshade. If you prefer, you can use Ogryn Camo shade, but I'm using Agrax for a slightly grubbier complexion for our cheeky green skin. Then when that's dry, it's back to Orruk Flesh to start highlighting. We are going to thin the paint and reapply it to the skin, leaving just the recesses untouched. Then we switch to Ogryn Camo. We are going to thin this to a heavy glaze and start gradually building up highlights bit by bit. And we just keep doing this, progressively building up the lighter colour on the most raised details until we are happy. All I want to do now is the eyes. First I'm going to use some Evil Sun Scarlet to brighten the red up a bit, then I'm going to thin down some Flash Gits Yellow to a glaze, and I'm going to add a little of that, focusing more on the central part of the eyes. And being a glaze, we can apply several coats to build up the colour to the point we're happy. Finally, I'm using Abaddon Black and I'm going to dot in each pupil. With that done, I just need to paint the base. I'm not going to go through that in this video because there is another video on my channel specifically about how I paint the bases for Advanced Heroquest. That means we can do a little jump cut to the finished thing. And here we are, Hugbug is ready to cause mischief. And that pretty much gets us up to date with my Advanced Heroquest project. I'm sorry this video has been a little bit scattershot, I hope some of it has been useful or interesting. But that is it from me for now, thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider pressing the like button. If you've really enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so. And hopefully, I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone, bye bye.